It's been a while, but welcome back to another SR4U Q A, your interesting and or weird football boot related questions and my answers to them, all pulled from my Instagram, which is SR4U_Josh. So if you have a question that you'd like me to potentially answer in a future episode, make sure you're following me on Instagram. You see it on screen right now. It is also linked down below. If you guys enjoy these Q&A videos and want to see them a little bit more frequently on the channel, make sure you support it with a like. And if you're new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly videos on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you had to say in making the new Mercurial, what would you add to an already great boot? So effectively what's being asked here is, how does Nike take an already fantastic top performing football boot and improve it? And I guess more specifically what's being asked is, what would I personally change about them to make them that much better? And I think this is a very tricky situation for Nike, because what they've achieved with the Vapor 13 and Superfly 7 Elite is kind of the pinnacle of football boot performance. But in light of a lot of the new releases that we've had over the last 2 months, I think there is room for improvement. However, I don't think there's really anything Nike can do with or without my suggestions that will make this next generation of Mercurials leaps and bounds better than what is currently available. So I want to make that 100% clear. The very first thing I would do is separate the Vapor and the Superfly again. And what I mean by that is make them two different models with two different uppers. The sole plate can stay the same between the two. I don't have a problem with that, but I think that the Superfly should remain knitted. They can evolve on that tech in whichever way they want to, but the Vapor should go back to a more plasticky, raw synthetic material, whether that is a return of Tahitian synthetic or something entirely new that I'm sure Nike has developed somewhere within the brand. I would love to see that, and I think a lot of longtime Mercurial fans would like that as well. Not to mention, it would act as a direct competitor to what Adidas has done recently with the X Ghosted series that has gone away from textiles and knits and back to a more plasticky synthetic material. Some people love that, some people hate that, but the fact that you would have two top-end options within the Mercurial series, one being a competitor to Adidas and the Superfly being this kind of boot really focused around the, I guess, more experimental tech that Nike has within the brand, for better or for worse, that's also something that gets people excited. I just like the idea of options, and especially given the fact that Nike has gone down to 3 lines, I think separating the Vapor and the Superfly would make a lot of sense at this point in time. The second thing that I would do is reintroduce carbon fiber in some way as a technology on the Mercurial series, even if it's only on the Superfly. I think what we've seen Adidas do with the Carbitex insert in the sole plate of the new X Ghosted is really the first time we've seen carbon fiber implemented in a way where it truly benefits the performance. It's not just there to look cool, it really makes the boot feel different from everything else that's currently available. And given that Nike, while they weren't the first to implement carbon fiber on a pair of football boots, they definitely popularized carbon fiber sole plates, even though they weren't the best. And I know some people would argue with me on that. I think that with all of the new technology that's out there, and given that Nike hasn't really done a carbon fiber sole plate since the 2014 Superfly, I would love to see them implement carbon fiber in some way on the Mercurial series again. Not only would it be a cool storytelling opportunity from a marketing perspective that, again, longtime Mercurial fans would be very excited about, but I believe in Nike and their technology side of the company, where I think they could come up with something really cool and at the very least match what Adidas has done with the new X Ghosted series, which, like I said, is really special. And then the third thing I would do to improve the Mercs, and this one's a little bit tricky, is make them lighter. The current Mercurials are not heavy by any stretch of the imagination, and it was a little bit surprising to see the new Adidas X Ghosted series not actually being as light as the current Mercurials. I think everyone expected them to be kind of OG F50 light. They're not. They're not heavy, but they're not super light either. And then Puma with the Ultra 1.1. It's a football boot that differs from the Mercurials, but ultimately does use a lot of the same materials, but ends up being significantly lighter. So based on that particular football boot, I know it's possible to have a boot that is lighter, given the current base of technologies and materials used on the Mercurial series. So if they could at the very least match the weight or come pretty close to that of the Puma Ultra 1.1, that again, I think would improve the overall feel, not so much the performance, but I think having a super light boot with the tightness and responsiveness of a Mercurial is part of what people like about them so much. And the lighter they can be, I think that's always going to make for a better performing product. Also, and this is more of a personal request, I really loved the holes in the studs of the Superfly 1, 2, and 3. I know it doesn't really do all that much in terms of actually shaving weight and really benefiting performance, but it looks super cool and I'd love to see it back. When are you restocking on Pure Grip socks? I promise there isn't going to be a Pure Grip socks commercial in every one of my videos because I find that annoying, let alone you guys, the viewers, but I've been getting a lot of questions about this and I'm not sure exactly when this video will go up, but as I'm making it, Pure Grip socks are actually back in stock at puregripsocks.com. And if by chance they are sold out by the time this video goes up, again, if you go to puregripsocks.com and select the color and size that you want of whatever sock it may be, you can actually sign up for a notification to get an email or a text message when the socks you want are back in stock. Also, just because so many people have been asking me, are there going to be different color variations of Pure Grip socks? The answer to that question is yes. When will that happen? The answer to that is very soon. Stay tuned to the channel. And if you're just looking for more information and updates on Pure Grip socks, you can follow the Instagram, which is at Pure Grip Socks. Any progress on the boots you're making? I feel like you guys ask me about this every single day, and I apologize that the project as a whole hasn't moved more quickly. Because I think when I announced that I was working on something like this, a lot of you expected to be able to buy a pair of football boots like the next week or something like that. It is still a very long way off, I'll tell you that much, and we'll see what happens with the project. As soon as I have an update that I can share with you guys, I will share it, but for the time being, there's nothing more for me to tell you. Should I bother with the struggle of changing the laces on a pair of Phantom Venoms? Based on personal experience, no. Hey Javier Mascherano, do you think Adidas would kill off the Nemesis line and just have 3 lines of football boots like Nike? I would be very surprised if we got another generation of Nemesis, simply based on the fact that the Nemesis line as a whole has not had much of a following from day one. It's not to say that the boots have been bad, because I think there have been some decent Nemesis models over the years, but none of them have been very popular, and I don't think any of them have really been standouts to where if Adidas were to kill off the Nemesis, that many people would be upset. So given the fact that it hasn't been that popular, it hasn't sold all that well, you have arguably one of the greatest players of all time wearing them and nobody cares still, that should be a huge red flag at this point for Adidas. So I fully expect them to kill it off. And also given the fact that Nike has gone down to 3 lines again by using the Phantom GT to replace both the Phantom Venom and the Phantom Vision, I think it makes sense for Adidas to kind of mirror what they're doing, and whether or not we'll get a new 4th line, I would say it's very probable. Also, when you do kill the Nemesis line, please put Messi in the X series. Everybody's been asking for it. It makes total sense in terms of marketing. Just do it. Are Puma boots on the same level as Nike and Adidas? This to me is kind of a funny question because it really shows off the marketing power of Nike and Adidas, where they have effectively brainwashed a large number of football boot consumers into believing that anything that isn't from them is inferior in terms of overall quality, certainly when you're talking about top-end models. And that is true depending on which boots you're talking about, but in the case of Puma right now, between the Future and the Ultra, they are both top performers, top quality, as good as pretty much anything you can buy from any brand, not just Nike and Adidas. So this perception that Puma is this distant 3rd place brand, not only in terms of popularity, but also in terms of quality, could not be further from the truth. Do you think it was a mistake to kill off the Phantom Vision and Venom line for Nike, or was it smart to streamline the Phantom into one boot and only have 3 main boots, excluding the Premier, whatever? I have to admit that I was a little bit surprised that Nike reverted back to 3 lines with the release of the Phantom GT, but at the same time, I guess it's not that surprising because the Phantom Venom and Phantom Vision, while they were both good football boots, neither of them had sold all that well up until this point. So I guess from a sales perspective, because that's something you always have to consider whenever brands make these big changes, is there's no reason to change things if the boots are selling. But the Phantom Vision wasn't exactly well received from day one, as great as the boots were, and the Phantom Vision 2 is just a slight evolution over the original. So if the first one wasn't popular, there's really no reason why the second one would be. And in the case of the Phantom Venom, I think it was Nike kind of taking a chance on seeing how many people who missed the T90 line actually missed the T90 series. And I guess it's possible that because Nike didn't go in as extreme a direction as they perhaps could have with the concept of the Phantom Venom, that people didn't buy it for that reason. But the Phantom Venom, again, as great as those boots are, did not sell particularly well. So based on poor sales numbers, I think it made sense for them to combine the elements from both of those boots, create the Phantom GT, and effectively make something that their consumers have been asking for a very long time, which is kind of a wider fitting variation of the Mercurial, which is more or less what the Phantom GT is, with some added texturing on the surface. So from a sales perspective so far, the Phantom GT has done well. There's been more hype around it than both the Venom and the Vision. So I guess in regards to whether or not the Phantom GT has been a successful endeavor from Nike up until this point, it's still very early. But in terms of just launch hype, it's done better than both Venom and Vision. So I think ultimately it's been a good decision so far. And that concludes another Q&A video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. As always, if you have any questions regarding anything that I talked about in this video or any answers to these questions of your own, leave all of that down below in the comment section and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one.